what is the process of admission. So I'll start with that, and then I'll move into what should be the preparation part. The process of admission is that, as you know, like all the IIMs call for admissions once in a year, whereas in IITs, they call twice in a year. Most of the IITs, whereas in IIM call, once in a year, and that usually they start calling during the month of September, November, and application windows will be open up to January, sometimes February, depending on the institute. Usually IIM Bangalore, IIM Ahmedabad, and Kolkata starts very early, and then the later IIMs. So that's how it starts, and you have to apply with certain set of documents. That is, one is the SOP, which we are going to speak today, and the second one is your resume, which speaks about what have you done in past years. And then some IIMs might ask you to submit a research proposal. Not all the IIMs. Very few IIMs will ask you for that. Sometimes they ask in the later stage also those things, and a lengthy application. And also you have to submit. Also other things like proposal I've said, and SOP I've said, and also like references. So most of the times will ask you for reference. These references are not basically references which is sent in letter form. Basically, you'll be uploading your faculties or your like somebody whom you have worked or you have have been taught by. So you can send their references, and those people will get the link to write about you. Then they write, and then only it is treated as a completed application. So that's how it is, and these are the ways. And how I am shortlist, that nobody knows. It's a black box. So I have given interviews, more than 7 to 8 interviews, and then have got selected here. So even I don't know how they select, and many people who are inside the system for many years don't know that how do they select, because academics is a very subjective area where it depends on many aspects, which most of things which we don't have really control over. So in that sense, we don't know how do they shortlist, but roughly we can say that you will be applying with a test score. If you're not from IIMs, you have to apply with a test score. Those test score could be CAT, GRE, or JRF, and a good marks in that is one criteria. A good track record of academics from your 10th standard, plus 2, and graduation, post graduation, that is the one criteria. But as I said, PhD is very subjective. These are not the sole criteria, and it is not that one has to be academically very strong or should have a very high percentage. It's not that so, because it depends entirely on your profile than your marks. Obviously, marks is one criteria, but there are many other criteria like how is your SOP, what's your profile, so what has been your previous exposure to research, what are your efforts to learn research, and how do you what in SOP, what are your research interests. These are also the part of application shortlisting. So they shortlist, and once they shortlist, you will get a call for either written test or interview. Some institutes has written test and interview. Some institutes have only interviews, because even though we call it IIMs and they come under one one umbrella of IIMs, each IIM will differ in its own way of process. So if you see that some IIMs prefer having both test and the interview, and some IIMs will prefer only interviews. So that depends on IIMs. Usually it will be written when you get when you get a shortlist. So as I said, the first shortlist will be based upon your SOP, your application, your profile, and your scores. Then you will be given a test. The typical test for PhD will not be like other tests where you'll be asked for reasoning, mathematics, and all those things. Obviously, some tests will have basic mathematics and statistics, but majorly tests are based on descriptive patterns. You'll be given with one research paper to read in the test, and then answer questions based on that. So like, how did you understand that particular research paper, and what are your inferences? What are the major findings of that paper? These are some questions could be asked, but it's entirely again depends on the panel who sits for that year. So basically they'll ask for very rarely they'll keep objective questions. Majorly it will be descriptive, but if they keep objectives, then objective test, then that will cover majorly on research methods, statistics, basic mathematics, and language abilities. This is of the test, and if you clear the test, then you will get an interview. Some institute has one round of interview, some institute has second round of interview, and some institute have interviews with the larger panel, some small smaller panel. It varies across the institutes. So first interviews usually will have an area round, where particular area which you applied for. Areas you applied could be marketing, finance, accounting, OB and HR, public policy, or different areas which you have applied for. Those areas will check for your, it's just been my experience, then it can vary because I'm just sharing what I know right now. They will check for your fit for the area, how much you know about area knowledge and other things. It will come, it will come into that in the next slides. So this is one thing. And the second thing is that they will look for what's your motivation for PhD, and all those things comes at the first stage. The second interview, basically, specifically in the IIM where I'm placed, they look for you are fit for the institute and a research program, and that will be done by executive committees. But again, it varies from institution to institution. Some might also look for research questions and many other things second round also. It also depends on that. This is then once you clear the interview, then they will release a first shortlist where you will get you'll be offered admission, and based on the acceptance of those offers, then they'll release the second list, and then it gets finalized with the admission process. This is what the basically the admission process is. So yeah, do we require GMAT score as well? Is CAT necessary? Okay, there are two questions at this moment. It's not that CAT is necessary. You can use GRE, you can use GMAT, you can use CAT, or you can use UGC scores, UGC net exam scores. So any of the one. But then again, UGC is not accepted in all the areas. You have to look at the institution's website and then decide what score they accept, and it varies from institution to institution. The first thing what you have to do during your initial preparation is that if you're preparing initially, first thing is that you have to glance through all the websites of IIMs. There are more than 15, I guess, or 12. You have to glance through all the IIM website in detail, because most of the IIMs have their process detailed out very well in their website. So you have to look at all the IIMs and make a Excel sheet or a chart, whatever you are comfortable with, on their admission cycle, what are the scores accepted, what are the ways of admission process, and you have to read the faculty profiles and see what they are doing as a research right now and how it is a detailed manner. So in one part of that is what is the score they accept. If there's only CAT, then you have to go with the CAT. Otherwise, then you can apply with GRE, GMAT, or JRF score. So the second question is, do we require GMAT score as well? Any one of the score which they ask for is what is needed. Okay.